I've got a new machine, a Surface Book 3. I had a Surface Pro 7 before, and it wasn't all that I was hoping. And streaming with OBS was almost impossible. But I think that there was some sort of an issue with it, so I've replaced that with a Surface Book 3, which for the first few days appears to be everything I wanted. It's a fantastic machine so far, but what I haven't tried is any OBS stuff yet. So I've been playing with a little tiny bit of Blazor and added a CDN to one the other day. So I thought I'd use that as a little demo to see how this whole thing copes. So the idea of what I'm going to create is a Blazor WebAssembly WASM app. And I'm just going to stick an image on the index page to begin with. I'm going to hook that all up through GitHub and GitHub Actions up to a web app in Azure, and then I'll add a CDN into that afterwards and just see what the flow is like. I've done this once so far, so I've had a run through, so I'll no doubt trip myself up a couple of times, but we'll see how that works out anyway. Obviously feel free to put in the chat whether or not the stream's working, because that's kind of half the point of what I'm doing. Hopefully it's okay and the audio quality and video quality are okay, but we'll see, I suppose. So the first thing I'm going to do is create a repo for my web app. I'm going to call this Blazor WASM with CDN. I'm going to leave it public. I'll create a README and a git ignore. Hi Cliff, how's it going? Do let me know if the stream's working all right. The git ignore I'm going to choose will be the Visual Studio one. Gregor's turned up as well. Hey Gregor, how's it going? Yeah, Greg and Cliff, or Gregor and Clifford. I'm not entirely sure which ones to use, depends how polite I want to be. Good. Glad that it seems to be working all right. So yeah, new repository in GitHub. I've left it public, added a README and a git ignore for Visual Studio because that's what we're going to be doing. So let's create that. Cool. And then I can clone this down to my local machine. I've already created a directory here, but I'm going to clone that down. Oh, slight reverb or echo. Interesting. Not entirely sure what to do about that. I shouldn't have much of an echo, so there must be something in the setup, unless it's sort of that. I wonder if that fixes it. I don't know, or if that's backwards and now you can't hear anything. Either way, I'm not sure. But are you sure? What? Look at that. Permission denied. Ugh, that's annoying. Let's just do this in Visual Studio instead, shall we? This is a brand new book, so I've not authorized Git to do that. I can't remember how you do that. How do I add that to my local installation there? I'm not entirely sure. But we can clone a repository here anyway in Visual Studio, so and I can actually browse it direct from GitHub, and it knows that it's going to choose the latest one as well. That might be a bit small, but I can't do much about that right now. I'm just going to stick that in my C drive. Presentations, clone that. So Gregor reckons the sound's okay then, Clifford, so perhaps it's your ears. There's an echo in your ears. Did that actually change the path? I don't know whether it did or not. I did. Cool. So there's our git ignore and the readme. So they're both there, which is good. So I could spin up a Blazor WASM app in Visual Studio if I like, but it's actually far faster for you. If you've got .NET installed, then you can do a .NET --info, and I've got quite a bit installed in here, but I'm going to want 3.1.402 really, because I'm not sure this is going to work with the version 5. I tried this in version 5 and it didn't work before. So how do we tell it to use a specific version? I know I can use a global.json, but I can't remember quite what that looks like. In fact, I'll tell you what, I'll cheat because I have one I prepared earlier, and I'll just copy the global JSON out of that, and that'll make my life easier. Oh, it's nice if it had one in there, but I don't, so I can't. So I will have to look it up. Oh, this is all about learning anyway, isn't it? Let's have a look. Select which .NET Core version to use. I wonder if he's shouting at me, and I'm surprised you're not shouting at me in the chat to tell me how to do this. Oh, there we are, look. So that's the global.json. So, tell you what we'll do. We will do this for now, just so it's easier. I definitely noticed that the machine is slower, although I've not put it on high perf mode. This is all just in the regular plugged in mode. So it's not doing too bad really. I'm assuming you're not seeing too much lag or breakup on the stream. I don't see you putting that in the chat. It's definitely slower. And I want to use whatever my latest .NET Core 3.1 version is. So that's 3.1.402. I think you can actually specify this on the command line when you do a .NET new. And I'm just looking at this web page here. But I think there's a way to do it on here that actually tells you what versions you can use. But nothing stands out on there as doing it. I'm pretty sure there's a command line switch that you can do it on there. But either way, that should then use 3.1.402. So we'll find out in a minute, won't we? So we can do .NET new Blazor WASM. And that will spin us up a basic Blazor. Yeah, it's using 3.1.402, so that obviously works. So that's good. It was definitely a long way around doing it. I'll have to look later at how you do it on the command line. If you've not played with Blazor, then it's fab. Why haven't you? But it's a SPA framework, and it was sort of a pet project for Steve Sanderson, and he demoed it, and everybody loved it at Microsoft, and so they said, "Oh, we must use this." And there's actually 3 different versions, but 2 primary different versions of Blazor. There's the Blazor server version, which, as the name suggests, runs on the server, and Blazor WASM, which is a WebAssembly version, which will run down in your browser client. I'm going to do the Blazor WASM one because I quite like that, and support for Blazor WASM's out there now, so you can feel free to go ahead and use that. So that's that created. I can close out code now because I'm going to do everything I want in Visual Studio actually. So my Solution Explorer has actually got everything in it, but I've not actually opened the project, so I'm just going to close that and open the project. Oh yeah, it's definitely slower. Be interesting to know whether the different modes, if I switch my Surface Book into best performance, I wonder how much of a difference that actually makes. I'll see. Yeah, it does make a difference. I don't think it can maintain that best performance indefinitely. I think it struggles. Cool. So I can actually spin this up in IIS. Or is it ISS, Clifford? I'm not sure now. Really? Clifford says he doesn't have those performance settings. Normally you can just click on the battery and it gives you 3 different settings. So I get a plugged in mode, and which is best performance, and better performance, and a recommended. So what's interesting though is I'm powering this from USB-C through the monitor, and it can't can't give it enough power to do this. So I noticed the battery going down while I'm doing this. So you can't sit there forever doing this. It'll struggle. Yeah, just balanced only for Clifford. That's interesting. But you've upgraded from home to enterprise, so it shouldn't be that that's causing it. Although I'm pretty sure it'd be in home as well. That's interesting. I wonder why yours wouldn't have it and mine would. I don't know. Interesting. What about yours, Gregors? Has yours got those power modes? So this is the vanilla Blazor app that comes out of the box if you've not seen this before. Yeah, plenty of things. You said you were going to install OBS, Clifford, so it'd be interesting to see what your experience is. We'll have to swap and I'll come and watch you do some stuff. So you get some stuff here out of the box, some basic API stuff and a bit of interaction and the home. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to add an image to this, just so that we can put that through a CDN. So if I stop the app from running, in www-root I'm going to add an images directory. And I am going to add into that a little picture of bit. Oh, that's not going to work. Tell you what, let's do it this way. Can I just drag this onto that? I think I can. There we are. So it's just, I'm going to add a little. Oh, yeah, I'm fine. It's quite big actually. I bet it's going to be zoomed. Oh no, there we are. So it's a little bit. I love bit. It's fantastic. So I'm going to just add him to the page. So if I go to my index, can I zoom this whole thing in? I'm not sure I can. You'll have to let me know if this is all too small. There is a way, I think, isn't there, to zoom Visual Studio. I'm not sure how. Usually there was a little zooming thingamajig, but I'm not sure how you do that. Let's look that up as well then. That's one benefit of using code, of course, and I guess I could have done a lot of this in code, but does that work? It says view appearance soon. There's no appearance in view. Oh, that's code, that's why. This is why you came and logged onto this, isn't it? So, zooming in the VS, you can zoom in the editor, but you can't zoom the actual. Then there's like a presentation mode that you can use now as well, which I'm not entirely sure how you turn on. But I don't know what that actually does. Presentation mode, split mode, installation mode. Oh, I don't know. You'll just have to squint if it's all a little bit too small. Oh, lost sound, really? Oh, zoom it. Yeah, well, that's true. I don't think I've even installed Zoom It. Look, since I've done this, that's a really good point, Clifford. I should have done that. Oh, okay, it's just Clifford then. You're having problems with your Surface Book already. Don't tell me that. That would be bad. But just don't have it struck by lightning. That's the last thing you want. So I'm just opening the index page anyway. Yeah. And I'll be able to zoom that just by holding control. So that's all okay. It's just this cruft on the right that you're not going to be able to see very well. But either way, I'm going to get rid of this survey prompt. Hello, yeah, and add an image with a source of. And what's great about Visual Studio is it gives you this IntelliSense for your app. But I think what's interesting is that's actually wrong. When you try and actually use that, it doesn't like it because it's trying to find the root there, and it's not actually in the root. So I delete that. Oh, fixed and no reverb. Oh, okay then. Oh, happy days. That's good then. So if I run that now, theoretically we should get a bit, but oh no, it won't. Stop. You spot the obvious error. It kind of helps if you close that off. Actually, I'm just going to skip forward a little bit because I think that only really wants to be about 250 pixels. There. Let's run that and just make sure that that works. And while that's doing that, I'm going to download Zoom It. Zoom it. Zoom it is fab. Right. Oh yeah, this is you don't install Zoom it, you just put it somewhere. So I'm just going to copy that into my program files directory. Whole machine is taking its time. I think that's actually loaded over there now, but I'm just going to start Zoom it. There. There, there's Bitlock. Ah, he's so cute. So that's proven that working. Anyway, if I inspect this, there's a bug I noticed in this edge. In that, see, I've just inspected that, but over here, it's not taking me to it directly, which is a pain in the arse. So you've got to do that again, or use this tool over here. But you can see this is coming from images 8-bit. If I do that, it disappears. So I'm not quite sure why that is actually, but that's something I spotted the other day when I was doing that. There must be a good reason. Oh yeah, the good idea. Stick it in your path. I think once you stick it in program files, you can just type it in, and it comes up eventually. I think if you've used it. Mine isn't, just to demonstrate the fact that I don't know what I'm talking about. Either way, we now have a little picture of Bit, and he's been served locally, so you can see that. So there's a few things now that we need to do. Okay, see it, look, that's running now. Okay. What we need to do is we have a Git Changes here. So this is everything that I've done, and because I added that Visual Studio Git Ignore, then it's only giving me the stuff that's actually important to this app. It's not giving me all the other cruft that I'd normally want. So I can stick this up as an origin now if I wanted to into GitHub, but I'm not going to do that yet because I want to set up the GitHub Actions stuff first. So let's close that, we don't need that anymore. So there's nothing much in my repo, so I've not checked anything in and pushed it up yet. But if I switch across to Azure, we want to set up a web app in here. So let's grab a web app. Why aren't you doing it that way? Create a web app. So I'm going to create a new resource group for this, Blazor Wasm CDN. And I'm going to do the same here, Blazor Wasm CDN. This will become a theme. Runtime stack 3.1 LTS. You see what's not in that list is .NET 5. I'm guessing that must be coming soon. I'm surprised that there isn't a preview version in there. Maybe if you were to use the preview portal or something like that, that might work. I'm going to choose North Europe, because that's tending to have most things we're going to want, and a new plan. We can do that if we want. So we'll do Blazor Wasm CDN plan for that, and I'm just going to check what version we're going to be running. I think we'll actually be fine to run all the way down to this free one if we wanted to, but I've got Azure credits, so I'm just going to use this one here just because it's going to give us a bit of power, and I'm not going to cripple myself and realise I've got to do it all again. So I'll apply that one. It's not asking me yet to choose which subscription to use, which is interesting. Here we are. There we are. So I'm going to use my Azure sponsorship because I'm an MVP, then I get some sponsored credits. And I will then click next for monitoring. I'm not going to enable application insights actually, just to keep it nice and simple. No, I'm not going to create any tags, and we'll just make sure that I'm doing the right things. Code, new service plan, no app insights, and it's fine. So create. Now, what you can do in once you've created this web app is you can hook it directly up to GitHub Actions directly from the portal, and it'll create you the YAML file for you, and it'll deploy it into your repo for you and everything. So it's actually a pretty hooked up experience. It's pretty good. I know me and Gregor spent a little bit of time trying to fix a hosted version of this. So when I mentioned there was 2 different flavors of Blazor, there are Blazor Server and Blazor WASM, but you can actually do a hosted, an ASP.NET hosted WASM version as well. But I'm not going to go into too much detail about that. But when I first did it, there was some bugs with the YAML file that was created when you did that. So they've subsequently fixed that. So that's looks like the plan is created. I mean, this is the downside with using something like Twitch for this, because I can't fast forward time, but I can waffle. I'm not bad at waffling. So that's done. I can go to my resource, to my app service. I'm going to pin that to my dashboard that I had there a minute ago. Pin it. So it's actually running. But if we go down here to, to Deployment Center, rather, then at this point, this is how you can set up your CI/CD pipelines. There's some options there, but I'm going to choose GitHub here and continue. And GitHub Actions, I mean, this is where everything's going to be at, GitHub Actions in the future, I'm guessing. But there's links here for pipelines in preview as well, and Kudo engine as well if you want that. But I'm going to choose Actions. I'm going to choose my GitHub organization, and if I see if I can just type CDN in there, Blazor WASM with CDN, and master, and it's about time that they change that to main now. I could do all of that, but it's not going to be production this, so I don't need to worry too much about it. .NET Core 3.1 as the stack, so that all sounds good. Here's the workflow here. It is YAML, I think it's YAML. That it creates, and there's not much to it. It's just a publish profile basically, and it stores the keys in some keys alongside your app there. So you're not publishing them into the YAML file in your repo. So that sort of just keeps your repo from exposing all your secrets. So I can click finish to that, and that will start. I had this the other day actually, where it said it was failed. And I think there's some bug, so I probably need to report this. But it's not actually failed. It has done that, but now the annoying thing is that I can't see a lot of the stuff that I'd like to be able to see in the deployment center. But it is actually working. If I refresh my screen, we should have a Git Hub Workflows directory. So this is the benefit of doing it before, so I don't have to spend ages not getting anywhere with that. I don't know what the issue is. But I need to report that perhaps to the DLs and see what's going on. But there's our YAML file that we saw in GitHub. And this does actually still work. So what I can't do at the moment is directly now push my code up to GitHub, because there's some new stuff in there. So I need to sync that down. So I need to pull the latest changes in. I will save the solution. I'm going to save it in the same place. And all being well, that should pull down the latest changes for me. And in fact, if we go to the Solution Explorer and we show all the files, then now we've got the GitHub workflows, and there's that same YAML in there. So that's pulled that down, so that's good. Go back to our Git Changes, and I'm just going to call this origin, and I'm going to do a commit and push, and assuming that it's happy enough with me, should be able to push that up. Push task is, let's have a look, let's make sure it's doing that. Successfully pushed. So now if we flick back to our GitHub repo and do a refresh on that. Oh, that was a bit pointless, could have just gone here. Then there's all our app files, they've gone up nicely. And if we go to actions, then we should have one action progressing, and we have. So ignore this one. And we can go into that action and then build and deploy. And you say, other than the failure in the portal, this is actually dead easy. I've not had to write any code at the moment other than an image tag to get this to work. This is all just done straight through the portal and GitHub. So yeah, set up .NET Core. Congratulations, by the way, to Gregor A on his new job, but also B on the little Azure tweet that went out, and it wasn't little actually. They'd spent what looked like quite a long time on that, so you should be there busy blushing if you're still listening there, Gregor. Oh, error, look, what's it complaining about? .NET Build is complaining about something there. What's it complaining about? 3.1.402. Ah, yeah, okay. It wants 3.1.102. I noticed this the other day as well. So I'm just going to do this directly in here. If I go into this workflows, I'm not sure. I do know why it does that. It's because it's kind of just the default, isn't it? But look at how bad my coding style is now. I'm just going to do this directly in GitHub. I think, what is it, 3.1.401? Can't remember what that was now. 3.1.402. Yeah. Friends in high places, Gregor says. Right, so that should be fine. Basically, the problem was that it was trying to build against 3.1.402, but it had the wrong .NET version auto-created for us in the YAML file. So there we are, look at that. Even typing a meaningful commit message in. So I wonder if I think that might actually kick off another build. There we are. And go back to build and deploy. So to do these builds, of course, it's using a bit of Azure resource in it. You've got to wait in a queue for that. Not usually too long unless there's some sort of a service disruption. But that's what that little delay is there while it's waiting for a bit of machine space to do that. So, yeah, it's downloading 3.1.402 and making sure that works. And this will just work this time when it sets that up. Fingers crossed. There we are. Now building. Cool. So obviously it's going to do all this in a little virtual machine space in Azure there somewhere, and GitHub, but it's the same thing. And once it's happy that it's done that, then once it's finished building it, it'll do a publish. Now that publish isn't send it up to Azure at that point. That's creating a block of binary stuff that is in the right format to be able to send up to Azure. So that's the step it's doing at the moment. And obviously, you know, I can see Gregor and Clifford in there, and I'm preaching to the choir. They already know this, I'm sure. But it's worthwhile calling that out. Here's the deploy step. So this is where it's using that bit of YAML, the end bit of YAML there to deploy the WASM app up. And then it's going to clear a bunch of stuff out and complete the job. And that should be that finished. So if we go back to the overview for our web app, then we get a URL to go to, and we should be able to go to that URL, and we should get a loading, and all being well, we should have there. So there's our Blazor WASM app running in Azure, deployed using GitHub Actions out to a web app. So I've just finished now, and you know, I'm done. But the reason why I was looking at CDNs, which is the other thing I'm going to add here in a second, is that we've got a new .NET Knots website coming, and we've got a new logo and everything, and most of this has been spurred on by the fantastic Jess White. She's cool. Since I brought her in and we've been running it together, she's taken on quite a lot of the load of all of this stuff, and a new website and a new logo and stuff like that. code of conduct and stuff has been high up on the list of stuff to do, but I've just not had time. So Jess has jumped on that, and thanks very much to her for that. But one of the things we want to do is hook into Hacktober, which is running in what, three or 4 weeks time now, Hacktober. So we're going to create a bunch of issues, and in fact I think Jess has done a lot of that. I've spun up a new Blazor WASM web app there with the basic template, and we're going to create a bunch of issues for people to help us create our website, which is always good. Get other people to do the work for you. But I wanted to learn a little bit, and Jess mentioned why don't we have a CDN, so I thought I'd look at how to hook a CDN up to it. So it looked complicated actually, because there was more steps, but actually it's not complicated. It was just the way I was reading it, but it was a good thing to learn. So I spun up this same project that way, and that's what you're seeing now, is a sort of replication of that. So again, if I inspect this and inspect it again, oh no, it's done it this time. So yeah, maybe because I've done it once, it's got over that business. But you can see anyway, that's serving that up locally from the server here. So no CDNing happening at the moment. Now, to create a CDN, you obviously do this in Azure, but it needs a few bits and bobs along the way. And one of the things is a storage account, and it'll need a network endpoint. But before you can do any of the CDN stuff, you actually have to add a service provider, and this isn't something that I've looked at in any great depth before. And in fact, it confounds me as to why you perhaps need to do that, or maybe it's to stop people in your tenant spinning stuff up that's going to cost a lot of money. I'm not sure, but I've not looked at resource providers before. But if I go to my sponsorship on here, and then if I scroll down, there's resource providers here, and you don't have everything you need automatically enabled in your subscriptions. There's a bunch of stuff that you don't automatically get. See, if scroll down, Microsoft Automation and Azure Data and Azure Stack, and the CDN is one of these namespaces that's not automatically registered. Now, I've registered this previously, but it's actually dead easy to register something. You just click on it. If I scroll down, just click on it here, and then you can hit this register button, and it'll just register that into your subscription, and you're away and running. But the day I started looking at this, there must have been a bug in the portal, because I came in to look at my namespaces and there was about 4. I couldn't enable CDN, so I thought it was just something I was doing wrong. So I was asking Gregor if there was anything he knew about it, and so no, you should just be able to do it. And so I went back after Gregor came back to me, and of course it was all just working in there, so I enabled it. But yeah, for CDN, you're going to need to add the CDN namespace in here. Microsoft.cdn, just register that, and then you're off and running. So you can type CDN in here. Dun, dun, dun. Oh, you're going to do it. What's wrong with you? Thank you. I know what it was doing then. So I'm going to do a Blazor WASM CDN. Leave it in there in that same one, and I'm going to use my Blazor WASM resource group. And now these different pricing tiers here, I've not dug into the depth of this, but they get provisioned at different speeds. And the Microsoft one, I think it takes like 100 minutes for it to provision itself, weirdly. But there are different prices depending on which ones of these you choose. And this one's the fastest to provision, so that's the one I'm going to do, this standard Akamai pricing tier. Now, you see the end will need an endpoint, so this is somewhere where it can actually come in and attach itself. Now, I could do that now if I wanted to, but I've not got the actual storage set up to do it, so I'm not going to do that yet. I'm going to add the CDN endpoint in a minute after I've created my storage and stuff like that. So I'm going to create that, and while it's creating it, I'm going to go and create my storage. So that's creating my CDN profile and everything. So what I now want is some storage. Just storage accounts. Let's just add one in there. Nothing is fast today, it seems. Come on. do it that way. Storage accounts. Leave it in there, same resource group. Storage account name. Did that not work? Oh, there we are. What was it doing? I'm not sure what that was about. Hello. It's been a bit funny, isn't it? Oh, that was weird. Oh, what that was doing. Anyway, Blazor wasm CDN storage, something like that. North Europe standard. Leave all this as it is. I'm going to choose cool actually because it's an infrequent access. Really, I'm not going to be updating it quite a lot. So I'm just going to leave that as cool. Probably might, if you've got a really busy website, might want hot, I guess. Networking, public endpoint, I'm going to need that, and network routing default. I'm not a massive storage expert. Entirely possible some people watching are going to be way better at that than me, so I'm just going to leave those as they are. I'm not going to turn on any of this lot. Not interested. Some advanced stuff, secure transfers, not really bothered about what that's all doing. TLS versions, hierarchical namespace, I'm not bothered. I'm just going to create this. I'm not bothered about tags either. Review and create. If you're here for a deep dive onto storage, you've missed it. And I'm happy enough with all of that, so I'm going to create that. So the storage obviously is where I'm going to store my little picture of bit. And what the CDN is going to do is it's going to be able to grab that and then store it, cache it locally, but it needs to get it from somewhere to begin with, of course. That's my understanding anyway. There's my CDN for yeah, the CDN is finished. And that's deployment has succeeded with that as well. So there are no endpoints, so I need to add an endpoint. So Blazor wasm CDN. Can I have that? Yes, I can, because I deleted my previous version. Storage is the origin type, and Blazor wasm CDN storage.blob.core.windows.net is what I've just created a few minutes ago. And /path. I think it's going to be happy enough with that. I think might need to come back to that and fix that, because I don't know if I'm going to. I think I might create an images. Actually, I'm going to do that and store it in images. And I'm happy enough with everything else. General web delivery. I mean, you can choose different types of CDN styles here, and they're going to charge you different amounts. General web delivery is fine for me. Bit is not a large file, so I should be able to add that as an endpoint, and that will create me an endpoint in my subscription there as well. Let's pin this as well while I'm at it. Pin. So that is busy creating my endpoint. I'm just going to switch back to my storage account. That's happy. Look at this. Let's just pin everything, then we can get access to it when we need it. Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff here, but there's a Storage Explorer, which is dead handy. There's actually an app that you can download, a Storage Explorer. You can do that as well. So I've not got any blob containers yet, so nothing. I can't actually upload anything at the moment because I've not got anywhere to put it. And in fact, is it in file shares? It's where my knowledge gets a little bit. I should be able to add a. It's not in tables, is it? Be able to add a location in there. I thought you can just do it from there, from Storage Explorer. What's it doing? It's not because I'm zoomed in, is it? Nope. Oh, look at that, all zoomed out. Horrible. Am I on data? Not on data transfer either. Ah, containers. There. You can't do it from Storage Explorer. So I need to create a container. I'm going to call it images. You can tell I've only done this once before, can't you? And I'm going to make it blob, anonymous read access for blobs. Blobs within this container can be read by an anonymous request. I'm happy with that, so I'm going to create that. So now I've got a bucket, if you will, in my blob to put my files. There's not going to be anything in that. But I can upload a file to this. So let's upload something to that. And select a file. And I am going to go back to my C drive. And let's go in here and grab it directly from in here. From the root, images, 8-bit, and upload him. He's done. Don't know what I was waiting for there. He's finished, so he's uploaded. So that's cool. So look, see, it's inferred that this is cool. So yeah, I think we're happy enough with that. Gregor disappeared and came back. See, I didn't even know. How would I possibly know that? But welcome back, Gregor. For Gregor, if you've missed it, I've just created a storage container, a blob storage container, and in there I've just uploaded my 8-bit bit up into that, and I've created a network endpoint if you'd gone before I did that as well. So if I switch back now to my CDN endpoint, can I go to it from that? Yes, I can. Oh yeah, Cliff is quite right. You did miss that deep dive. In fact, I managed to fit in probably everything you'd need in the exam into about 15 seconds. It's dead good. You've missed that now. So, but mind you probably got the exam already, Gregor, because I think you passed nearly all of them. You and Salman seem to be the exam kings. So yes, so we have a CDN, and it's looking at this particular location is the end point. So theoretically, I should be able to do images / and what was the file name for that? I'll go back. 8-bit bit. Theoretically, I think I should be able to view that. Oh, okay. Not so much. Blazor Wasm CDN image. Maybe it's just that. No. Can't remember how I did that before. I better find that out because that's exactly what I want to do. Actually, I think you can get it from this. I think that's how I did it before. Or did I? My memory's faded already and it was only 2 days ago that I did this. What have we got in the overview? Oh, that's just the storage. I think actually I need to do it from the CDN. I think that's what I did, isn't it? So let's go back to my to that CDN. I think I did it from that because I've hooked it up to it now. Blazor Wasm CDN.azureedge.net is our endpoint. Is that where I was a minute ago? Can't remember. I'm going to do the AZ220 first, and then want to do the Azure one as well. Yeah, for sure. Use them, but it'd be nice to have a cert. Yeah, true. I kind of cheated by writing the exam, and I kind of got given it, so I didn't have to sit the exam. I'm pretty sure, mind you, after I'd been involved in writing it, I wouldn't have passed it without studying, because there's quite a lot in that. I mean, it's not AZ400 wide, but it covers obviously the whole stack, and the stack's quite big now. I was approached by another MVP who recommended me to a company, and you have to send in a CV and everything, and they accepted me, which was nice. And then yeah, you get involved. Obviously, everything I do for them is all under NDA, so I can't tell you anything. But I can tell you that was how I got involved, and I love it. Actually, it's really good. It's an interest. It's hard writing questions. It's harder writing questions for something like AZ400 when it's so broad, and actually a lot of it's involving third-party tech in AZ400 that I've just either not used or not had very much exposure to. So some of that's quite difficult actually. And writing questions when it's essentially multiple choice, although there are different innovative type of questions in there. So you can't open-end anything. You can't ask them to write an essay on what's supposed to be done. It has to be exactly right, and you've got to do it to the docs, the Microsoft docs and everything. So, here we go. So is that what? So if I do images and then what was it? I've got it here. 8-bit. I don't know if I need the images actually. Ah, good. So there's our little 8-bit bit being served from. I tried to do it from the storage, which was silly. I need to do it from here because this is what I'm going to do. This has been served from our CDN now, so that's picking it up directly from that storage, and there's bits in it, all these cuteness. So that's essentially our CDN is working, but of course we've not hooked it up to our WASM app. If you remember here, look, we're just serving this directly from that storage. So let's fix that. And I'm sure that once you get into CDNs, there's way better ways of doing this. But I'm not going to show you that because I don't know how to do it. But we can now just replace this with the CDN location and save that. And then because we've got this hooked up to that whole CI/CD pipeline, all we need to do is use CDN for bit. And I can commit and push that. And that's pushing it up. Let's flick back over to our actions. CV's on £50 notes are hard to. Yeah, well, you say £50 note. Euros come in bigger numbers than that, you know. So we should get an actions appearing in here soon. Oh, hold on. I've got a pull and push. What did I change? I changed the version for .NET, didn't I? And so I've not done that. So I'm going to pull that and push it. So that should be happy enough now. And we should get an action appearing in here in a second. That's what happens when you switch away too quick, you see. Like, look at what it's doing. There we are. There's our action happening again. This is why we need the fast forward button. And we can... I can't do that. So... There's our job. Yeah, I think I'd updated it prior to that because my friend Misha Bell, who works at Rebel Recruitment, they sponsor my Not-So-OT in normal non-COVID times. They sponsor it. Fantastic Nottingham-based recruitment agency. Misha works for them. She's fantastic as well, and she asked me for my CV in case anything came up. So I spent a bit of time and updated it at one point, but I updated it again for the exam creating company. It's quite an old school looking CV though, if I'm honest. Probably should create one of those CV sites that you see people creating these days with all sorts of interactivity, but geez, who's got time for that? I've barely got time for breathing with all the other things I do. Yep, published, deploy. I mean, this is the home run part anyway. At this stage, you know, if this part doesn't work, then you're going to be watching me scratching my head trying to figure out why that's not worked, but should be fine. There we are, that's all completed. So if I now refresh this, and I'm going to do a control refresh just to be sure. It's loading. And I think every time it gets deployed up, it restarts that little virtual machine that these things run in. So that's why we added to do the whole reloading thing. But let's do an inspect on that. And there we are. That's been served straight from the CDN. And that's about it. So I mean, all I'm doing is serving images from the CDN. Now, if you've got any form of sort of interactivity on your site, and we're planning on having that with the .NET Art site with pulling stuff from Meetup and stuff, so you'd need to use a slightly different CDN profile for that, more expensive one. But for the purposes of what we're doing here, then that works for this. You can also, if you've just got a completely static site, you can push your whole site through a CDN. rather than just the images in what I'm doing. So obviously that's an option too. But I just wanted to sort of bed in the basics there. Clifford says that his is full of flying stuff. Well, yeah, that's the cool stuff as well, though, mind you. And hardly any engineering stuff. Yeah, you must, absolutely. Your experience speaks for itself. I'm pretty sure a lot of people will know that you're the flying handy guy. It's just fantastic. If you don't know what Clifford does, Clifford's a pilot, I think, for BA. But in his spare time, which I suppose he gets quite a lot of once he's flicked on that inflatable autopilot, he creates a lot of robotic stuff, and he's created a robotic arm for a young child that he knows, and it's absolutely amazing. If you've not seen that, then go and check out his handy talks. I think there's a few of them on the internet, isn't there, Clifford? I've had him been lucky enough. In fact, Clifford was the last physical speaker that we had at .NET Knots. One of the last, in fact, because we had a couple of people that night. But yeah, I'll tell you the autopilot. Yeah. So yeah, the handy that Clifford's created is fantastic. And obviously we've got the great Gregor Sutty online as well, and Gregor's involved with a whole heap of stuff in the Azure space. I wouldn't have time to list everything, but one of the most helpful people that you'll ever meet in this space. So thank you for both of you for tuning in. You're both way more awesome than I am. So yeah, I mean, the basics of what we did there, then we created in the command line, because I found that to be the quickest way rather than stepping through the GUI, created a Blazor WASM app. And then I needed to, before I did that, I needed to tell it to use 3.1.402 version of the .NET Core framework. .NET Core framework? Yeah, .NET Core. And then I'd already created a GitHub repo for that, so that got pushed into there. And then I went into Azure and I created a web app in there, and then I hooked that web app up through the bug that seems to be in web apps at the minute to my GitHub repo, which added some YAML that would allow me to use Github Actions to, every time I check in code, automatically push that and publish it out to that web app. And then I'd added a little picture of Bit into my index page and proved that I could just view that locally. And then I created a CDN and some storage and an endpoint for that to be able to then serve out the images stored in storage directly from our web app. So yeah, that's sort of a round trip through all of that. I've not deep dived into any of it, but hopefully you've seen how that's going, and also hopefully I've given my Surface Book a test. And what's really good is I remember the Surface Pro 7 when I was doing this. It was literally like one of Clifford's jet engines. The fan was just ridiculous on it. It just couldn't keep itself cool. But the Surface Book, although I can hear the fan, it's not loud at all. And that's in high perf mode. So that's pretty impressive. And I'm hoping that both Clifford and Gregor have been able to give me enough insight into whether or not the stream's been stable enough and has worked as well. And obviously whether or not the content was any good of what I just did. Our stream's been awesome. That's good. I'm happy enough with that. I mean, last time we tried this, it was stuttery as hell, and there was loads of lag in the audio. And yeah, I mean, there was fire coming from the inside of the Surface Pro and stuff like that. So stream's been perfect, Clifford says as well. So yeah, I really appreciate you logging in and doing that. I mean, obviously, if you pair have got any questions, then do feel free to ask me in the chat. But you're both experienced enough; you probably know just as much as I do about that sort of stuff. I do need to do a little bit more streaming, and I probably feel like I can now a little bit more, that I've got the setup working a little bit. I mean, obviously, I don't have a big flashing RTX card in there to do a lot of the fancy stuff. I do need to set a few things back up again, like the new follower stuff that I had appearing on there from. I can't remember what the name of the thing is now you can do, but I had that set up on the Surface Pro. I've not set it back up on here. So good. So with that, I'll close off, being as there's no questions, and I'll see you lot later on. And thanks very much for tuning in. Appreciate it. See you in a bit.